أعتقد أن المبلغ منخفض جدا، كنت أتوقع مبلغ أكبر، لذا قدمت له خصما كبيرا. ماسك حصل على خصم كبير، لا أظن أنه على علم بذلك.
I got to start with this. So he's working for free with Doge. He's kind of put a lot of his life on hold.
يجب أن أبدأ بهذا السؤال: هل ماسك يقوم بالعمل مجانا معك؟ لقد وضع جزء من حياته في الانتظار بسبب الظروف، وقد قمت برفع دعوى ضد تويتر قبل عدة سنوات، دفع 10 ملايين دولار قسرا. هل هذا صحيح؟ هذا صحيح، هذا صحيح.
حسنا، لقد قمت برفع دعوى قانونية قبل أن يمتلكها إيلون ماسك. نعم. وأعني أنهم حقا أثروا علي سلبا كما تعلم. دعوى رفعتها وكان يجب عليهم الدفع. لقد دفعوا تسوية بقيمة 10 ملايين دولار.
هل أنت سعيد مع ذلك المبلغ؟
يعني أنني تركت الأمر للمحامين، وأنت تعرف الفريق الذي يدير تويتر، لذا قلت لهم افعلوا ما ترونه صحيحا.
أعتقد أن الأمر ممتع.
أعتقد أن المبلغ منخفض جدا، كنت أتوقع مبلغ أكبر، لذا قدمت له خصما كبيرا. ماسك حصل على خصم كبير، لا أظن أنه على علم بذلك.
لقد أصبح واحدا منكم إذا قرأت وصدقت وسائل الإعلام.
That's nice the way he said that, you know, there's something nice about it.
Really is. أنا لا أهتم بذلك.
أنا بحب الرئيس كثير، بحب الرئيس.
أعتقد أن الرئيس ترامب رجل رائع حقا، وقد رأيت كيف عبر عن ذلك بوضوح.
أنت تعلم هناك شيء لطيف في ذلك.
حتى ما تقول؟ نعم بالطبع، أنت تعلم. لأن الرئيس تعرض لهجمات غير عادلة في وسائل الإعلام المختلفة، وهذا الأمر حقا مثير للإشمئزاز، وقد قضيت الكثير من الوقت الثمين مع الرئيس، ولم أرى منه في أي وقت مضى شيئا قاسيا أو خاطئا، بل كان دائما لطيفا ورحيما، ولا مرة رأيت منه شيء.
هل تعلم لقد عرفته من 30 عاما؟ نعم، ولم أرى أحدا يتحمل الصعوبات والآلام كما تحمل هو. نعم، وقد ناقشنا هذا، وأتساءل كيف تتعامل مع ذلك. هل كان عندي خيار؟ حسنا، قول لي ذلك. أنا لا أفكر ماذا سأفعل. هل سأقلق بشأن ذلك؟ كما تعلم، وانتهى الأمر بمحاولتين اغتيال لك، وقد أدت إلى زيادة شعبيتك وتأييدك.
كنت حاول ذلك على أي حال، كان مجرد افتراض.
هذا التسريع قليلا في الأمور. نعم، يومها فقط.
I learned a lot about you that I didn't know. I think people will think about Tesla. Democrats are demonizing you and trying to make the country hate you. I just want people to understand you a little bit better, and the person that you've gotten to know and have now put a lot of trust in. Yeah. And, you know, just let's go over a little bit of your bio, starting with PayPal and how you became involved in Tesla and SpaceX and Neuralink and all these.
Take a while. I mean, you know, I think the way to think of me is like I'm a technologist, and I try to make technologies that improve the world and make life better.
Your shirt.
Yeah, and that's why I like my T-shirt says tech support, because I'm here to provide the president with technology support. And now that may seem like, well, is that a silly thing? But actually, it's a very important thing, because the president will make these executive orders, which are very sensible and good for the country, but then they don't get implemented. You know, if you take, for example, all the funding for the migrant hotels, the president issued an executive order where, hey, we need to stop taking taxpayer money and paying for luxury hotels for illegal immigrants, which makes no sense. Like, so obviously, people do not want their tax dollars going to fund high-end hotels for illegals, and yet they were still doing that even as late as last week. And so, you know, we went in there and we're like, this is in violation of the presidential executive order. It needs to stop. So what we're doing here is one of the biggest functions of the Doge team is just making sure that the presidential executive orders are actually carried out. And this is, I just want to point out, this is a very important thing, because the president is the elected representative of the people. So he's representing the will of the people. And if the bureaucracy is fighting the will of the people and preventing the president from implementing what the people want, then what we live in is a bureaucracy and not a democracy.
You're both aware, you have to be keenly aware, that the media and the punditry class, not that, you know, I think you've proven they have no power anymore, because they threw everything they had at you and they didn't win. And that was, you know, the New York Times, Washington Post, 3 networks, every late night comedy show, 2 cable channels. They just threw everything, lawfare, weaponization.
Sure.
And now I see They want you two to start, they want a divorce. They want you two to start hating each other. And they try, President Elon Musk, for example. You do know that they're doing that to you.
Oh, I see it all the time. They tried it, then they stopped. That wasn't. They have many different things of hatred. Actually, Elon called me. He said, they're trying to drive us apart. I said, absolutely. No, they said, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has ceded control of the presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. And I say, It's just so obvious. They're so bad at it. I used to think they were good at it. They're actually bad at it, because if they were good at it, I'd never be president. Because I think nobody in history has ever gotten more bad publicity than me. I could do the greatest things. I get 98% bad publicity. I could do, outside of you and a few of your very good friends, it's like the craziest thing. But you know what I have learned, Elon? The people are smart. They get it.
Yeah, they do, actually.
They get it. They really see what's happening.
Yes.
And at the end of this interview, what I would like is I want people to know the relationship and know more about you. What is the relationship, Mr. President?
Well, I respect him. I've always respected him. I never knew that he was right on certain things, and I'm usually pretty good at this stuff. He did Starlink. He did things that were so advanced and nobody knew what the hell they were. I can tell you in North Carolina, they had no communication. They were wiped out. Those people were, they had rivers in between. Land that never saw water, all of a sudden it was a river and a vicious, like rapids. People were dying all over. They had no communication. They said, do you know Elon Musk? They didn't really know I knew him. I said, yeah. He said, could you get Starlink? It's like the first time I ever heard of it. I said, what's Starlink? A communication system. That's unbelievable.
I have it.
Yeah. And he said, I called him and I said, listen, they really need it. And he got like thousands of units of this communication, and it saved a lot of lives. He got it immediately, and you can't get it. I mean, you have to wait a long time to get it. But he got it to him immediately, and I said, that's pretty amazing, and I didn't even know he had it. We watched the rocket ships, and we watched Tesla. I think, something that had an effect on me was when I saw the rocket ship come back and get grabbed, like you grab a beautiful little baby. You grab your baby. It just
hug the rocket.
I've never seen
everything needs a hug, including rockets.
And he said, you can't really have a rocket program if you're going to dump $1 billion into the ocean every time you fly. You have to save it.
Right.
And he saved it. First time that I've ever seen that done. Now, nobody else can do it. If you look at the U.S., Russia, or China, they can't do it. And they won't be able to do it for a long time. He has the technology. So you learn. I wanted somebody really smart to work with me in terms of the country, a very important aspect. Because, he doesn't talk about it. He's actually a very good businessman. And when he talks about the executive orders, and this is probably true for all presidents, you write an executive order and you think it's done. You send it out. It doesn't get done. It doesn't get implemented. They don't implement it. Maybe they're from the last administration, and they are in some cases. You try and get them out as fast as you can. But as soon as he said that, I said, that's interesting. You write a beautiful executive and you sign it and you assume it's going to be done, but it's not. What he does is he takes it, and with his 100 geniuses, he's got some very brilliant young people working for him that dress much worse than him, actually.
Yeah,
they dress in just T-shirts. You wouldn't know they have 180 IQ.
Wait a minute. So he's your tech support.
No, he is. But he's much more than that.
Yeah. I actually am tech support, though. But
he gets it done. He's a leader.
Yeah.
He really is. He gets it done. You get a lot of tech people, and you have people that are good with tech, but he gets it done. I said in real estate, you had guys that would draw beautiful renderings of a building, and they'd draw the rendering. It would be great. And you say, great, when are you starting? But they were never able to get it built. They couldn't get the financing. They couldn't get the approvals. It would never get done. And then you have other guys that are able to get it done. They could just get it done. I was in real estate. Same thing in this. He gets it done. So when he said that, he said, when you sign these executive orders, a lot of them don't get done, and maybe the most important ones. And he would take that executive order that I'd sign, and he would have those people go to whatever agency it was. When are you doing it? Get it done. Get it done. And some guy that maybe didn't want to do it, all of a sudden he's signing. He just doesn't want to be bothered.
Do a lot of those executive orders have to be codified into law? You need the Republican Congress to follow up?
A lot of them will be.
They will.
But look, in the meantime, we have 4 years. The beauty is We have 4 years. That's why I like doing it right at the beginning, because an executive order is great. I mean, the one problem, it's both good and bad, because when they did all these executive orders, I've canceled most of them. They were terrible. I mean, we're going to go radical left communist. Okay, it was crazy. Their executive orders were so bad. If they ever got them codified, you'd never be able to break them. So the damage that Biden has done to this country, and it's not even Biden, it's the people that circled him in the Oval Office, okay? But the damage they did to this country, in terms of, let's say, open borders, you know, there's so many things, but open borders where millions of people poured into our country, and hundreds of thousands of those people are criminals. They're murderers, they're drug dealers, they're gang members, they're people from prisons from all over the world. And we have a great guy, Tom Homan, and he is doing so incredibly. You saw the numbers, they're down like 96%.
95%.
He is a phenomenal guy. And Kristi Noem is doing an unbelievable job. And he wanted her. He said, she's so tough. And I said, I don't think of her as that way. You know, she's very nice. He said, no, she's so tough. And she is. I see with the horses, she's riding the horse. Let's go. She's great. But the team we have is really unbelievable. But those executive orders, I sign them. And now they get passed on to him and his group and other people, and they're all getting done. We're getting them done.
Let me go back a little bit to your background, because it's beyond impressive. You were the chief engineer, for example. You were an early believer in Tesla. You became the CEO, and then the chief engineer, which was phenomenal. SpaceX, same thing, which is unbelievable. I mean, you were the first private company to send astronauts successfully into space, first private company to send astronauts into orbit.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep.
He's going to go into orbit soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, he's going to go to Mars. He's
Starlink
at some point.
Huh?
Yeah.
Is in over.
But they always ask me, like, do you want to die on Mars? And I say, well, yes, but not on impact.
Starlink is in 100 countries. This is going to be hard. I feel like I'm interviewing two brothers here.
You go ahead.
Star Shield, which could be used for national defense.
Yeah, it is already being used for national defense.
Then you have what is it called? Optimus, a part of Tesla.
The robot, yeah.
A robotic arm. Then you have an AI arm. And then you have something that really fascinated me, and it's called Neuralink.
Yes.
You might help the blind to see,
yes,
and people with spinal cord injuries, that they can recover, where in the past, how close is that becoming a success?
Neuralink, we've implanted Neuralink in 3 patients so far who are quadriplegics, and it allows them to directly control their phone and computer just using their mind, just by thinking. It's like, so we call this product telepathy. So you control your computer and phone just by thinking, and it's possible to actually control the computer and phone faster than someone who has working hands. Then the next step would be to add a second Neuralink implant past the point where the neurons are damaged, so that somebody can walk again, and so they can have full body functionality restored. And
you like Bobby, right?
I like Bobby, actually. Yeah, I think I supported Bobby Kennedy. I think he's unfairly maligned as someone who is anti-science, but I think he isn't. He just wants to question the science, which is the essence of the science. The scientific method fundamentally is about always questioning the science.
Well, they didn't tell us the truth about COVID.
Correct.
That's for sure.
Yes.
And we learned a lot with the Twitter files. And that just then raises a question. You're the richest man in the world. You may not like that part. Yeah. You're pretty competitive.
It's neither here nor there.
I've known you a long time. But
that's why.
But he's on your team. Well, that's true. He can't top that.
He's good. You know, I wanted to find somebody smarter than him. I searched all over. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
You really tried hard.
I couldn't find anyone smarter, right? So we had it for the country.
But this is the thing.
We settled on this.
Well, thanks for having me.
So
I'm just trying to be useful.
But this is the interesting. This is where we are as a society, and I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're doing all of these things. Nobody at Doge gets paid a penny, correct?
Well, actually, some people are federal employees.
Some are, okay.
Yeah,
they're helping.
But it's fair to say that the software engineers at Doge could be earning millions of dollars a year, and instead of earning a small fraction of that as federal employees.
Okay, so
and they're very committed people.
So yes. You're committed to helping the blind see people with spinal cord injuries recover.
Yes.
You're committed to getting to Mars. You're committed to rescue. You're going to help rescue next month 2 astronauts that I think were abandoned. They dispute that in an interview.
At the president's request, or instruction, we are accelerating the return of the astronauts, which was postponed kind of to a ridiculous degree.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Biden.
They were yes, they were left up there for political reasons, which is not good.
Okay, it's not good. Now, if I had the weight of the pressure of doing that successfully on my shoulders, I think I'd be, But when we spoke before we did this interview, you are very confident. You think this will be a successful mission.
Well, we don't want to be complacent, but we have brought astronauts back from the space station many times before, and always with success. Mm-hmm. So, as long as we're not complacent.
When are you going to launch?
I think it's about 4 weeks to bring them back.
About 4 weeks?
Yeah.
And
we're being extremely cautious. Yeah.
You now have the go-ahead.
Yes. Well, thanks to you.
They didn't have the go-ahead with Biden.
What's that?
He was going to leave him in space. I think he was going to leave him in space.
Well, it's like when we were growing up, lost in space.
Yeah, he didn't want the publicity. Can you believe it?
Unbelievable. And so I want to echo something that the president said and then ask an overarching question. So people get hit with Hurricane Helene. They have no communication with the outside world. You come to the rescue. You donated that, I believe?
Yes.
Okay. You donated to the people.
He saved a lot of lives in North Carolina. He saved a lot of lives.
And California after the wildfires?
California, but I mean in North Carolina where they were really in trouble. They had no communication. People were dying. They were dying of starvation. He saved a lot of lives in North Carolina.
Okay. Now you're going to rescue astronauts. And now, and again, you do all of this. I would think liberals would love the fact that you have the biggest electric vehicle company in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be adored by the left,
Yeah, not anymore.
Less so these days.
He killed that, huh?
I mean, less so.
I really did it.
Well, I mean, this whole sort of like, they call it like Trump derangement syndrome. And you don't realize how real this is until like you can't reason with people. So like I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner, and it was like a nice, quiet dinner, and everyone was behaving normally. And then I happened to mention, this is before the election, like a month or two before, I happened to mention the president's name. And it was like they got shot with a dart in the jugular that contained like methamphetamine and rabies. Okay, and they're like, "Wow!" And I'm like, "What is wrong, guys? Like, you can't have like a normal conversation." Yeah. And it's like they become completely irrational.
He has no idea. But if you're friends with him, you pay a price. It's like I walk in a restaurant in New York and it's like half the room gets daggers and they want to.
The eye daggers level is insane. Yeah. I mean, there was like I had like some invitation because I got invited to basically a big sort of damn event like that was, but I received the invitation like the beginning of last year, and I still attended even after I had endorsed President Trump, and I didn't realize how profoundly that would affect how I was received. I mean, I walk into the room and I'm getting just the dirty looks from everyone. Like, if looks could kill, I would have been dead several times over.
But that was not before Trump. BC, ashes on the floor. Before Trump, that never happened, right?
No. So people ask me like, what's your biggest surprise in DC? And I'm like, the sheer scale.
It's massive. So you love the challenge.
Well, I mean, to the president's point,
that's the only thing you can say. He'll never do anything.
I mean, you do something slightly better, and you save billions of dollars for the American taxpayer. Just slightly better.
When you say tech support,
you get 1% better, and it's like tens of billions of dollars saved for the American taxpayer. Now, if I may address the point the question you asked earlier, which is, how do we assure people
they want to know?
Yeah, how do we assure people that we're going to do the right thing, that their Social Security benefits will be there, that their medical care will be good, and in fact, how do we ensure that there's better medical care in the future? How do we improve their benefits? How do we make sure that their Social Security check goes further than it did in the past and not it doesn't get weakened by inflation? So if we address the massive deficit spending, the sort of the waste in the government, then we can actually address inflation. So provided the economy grows faster than the money supply, which means you stop the government overspending and the waste, and the output of real useful goods and services exceeds the increase in the money supply, you have no inflation. Yeah. And you also drop the interest payments that people pay. Because if the government
way
keeps,
too high.
Yes, the reason the interest payments are so high is because the national debt keeps increasing. So the government is competing to sell debt with the private citizens. This drives up the interest rate. So if you cut back on the deficit, you actually have an amazing situation for people because you get rid of inflation and you drop the interest rates. And that means people's mortgage payments go down, their credit card payments go down, their car payments go down, their student loans go down, everything, their life becomes more affordable and their standard of living improves.
How quickly? Because I think people are suffering now. You were still living under the Biden.
John, you have states right now. Yeah. You have some states that operate that way. They operate as well as any corporation. They really operate well.
Yeah.
They have surpluses.
Texas has a surplus, for example.
When they look at New York and California and some of these places that should have an advantage. I mean, there's a big advantage. Or Pritzker does such a bad job in Illinois. It's horrible how bad he is. And they don't have that advantage. You know, New York has stock exchange and a lot of things, and California has the weather and the beautiful water and all the
great weather. The most expensive weather on earth.
Yeah, but
I like Florida.
Yeah. But some states operate the way he's talking about.
Efficiently.
When you go into some of these states, you're going to find very little. You're going to find almost nothing. They really operate well. Big surpluses, low taxes.
And my taxes went up the first time you were president because you took away the SALT deduction.
I did.
Which, by the way, I thought was the right decision.
It was the right decision. In fact, Reagan tried to do it because it rewards badly run states. But at the same time, it's tough for the states. I mean, it really is tough for the states. The sad part is it rewards really badly run states. Yeah. And Reagan tried to do it. He was unable to do it. I got it done.
You got it done, and
now we're going to give some back.
How quickly do you balance the budget, and when do we start paying down that?
Well, potentially very quickly. Between what he's doing and with income coming in from tariffs and other things, I mean, I hope we can. I don't want to give a date because then these people are going to say, "Oh, well, he didn't make the date." But I think we could do it very quickly. We would have never done it if this didn't happen. Never. It would have never been. It would only get worse and worse, and ultimately it would have exploded. This country was headed down a very bad track, and the whole DEI thing, that was a trap. That was a sick trap. And, and you know, we've destroyed that. That's gone. That's pretty much gone.
I agree. We're not funding it.
I really want to emphasize to people that this is a very important point. If we don't solve the deficit, there won't be money for medical care. There won't be money for Social Security. We either solve the deficit, or all we'll be doing is paying debt. It's got to be solved, or there's no medical care, there's no Social Security, there's no nothing. It's got to be solved. It's not optional. America will go bankrupt if this is not done. That's why I'm here.
The president.
Europe takes advantage of this.
And I'd like to also just send a message, because as the president said, there's a lot of rich people out there. They should be caring more about the country, because the reason they should be caring more about the country is if America falls, what do you think is going to happen to your business? What do you think? Do you think you're going to be okay if the ship of America sinks? Of course not. What I'm doing here, what the president's doing, it's just long-term thinking. The ship of America must be strong. The ship of America cannot sink. If it sinks, we all sink with it.
This is what drives you.
Yes.
This is important. It says tech support. So you're not trying to be president, as the media suggests. You are really here because your heart and your passion is this. And the president described you as being, this is the biggest thing you've ever done. Now you're trying to bring sight.
There could be nothing bigger.
You're sending ships up to Mars, spaceships up in the sky all the time, and saving astronauts. That's pretty big.
That's peanuts compared to what we're talking about. Yeah.
You agree with that?
Well, it's essential that America be healthy, that America's economy be strong, and if basically, like, my concern is, like, if America is the central pillar holding up Western civilization. That pillar must be strong. If that pillar falls, the whole roof comes crashing down.
Including his ships.
There's no place to hide.
Including his ships.
There's no place to run.
Nothing. There's nothing left.
Why, if this is your goal, your motivation, you're losing money in the process, you do all these nice things for people for free, you're trying to solve, blindness, you're going to rescue astronauts, you help the people in North Carolina, California, you're cutting money that was sent abroad that's not helping the American people, then why the
Actually,
rage?
I think it was not helping the American people and hurting people overseas, to be clear.
Why this rage against you now? First they hated him, now they hate both of you.
Well, I think we're seeing an antibody reaction from those who are receiving the wasteful and fraudulent money.
They're being exposed.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be exposed.
I'll tell you a lesson I learned at PayPal. You know who complained the loudest? And the quickest and the loudest and with the most amount of righteous indignation? The fraudsters. That's who complained first, loudest, and they would generally have this immense overreaction. That's how we knew they were the fraudsters. Mm-hmm. That's how we knew. There's to tell.
I've never met you before today. Yeah. And it's nice to meet you, by the way. Thank you for doing this. You guys are really friends. I could see you kicking up your shoes.
Well, he doesn't do this kind of thing. And the way I figured that you'd get to know him is if I did it with him. I said, come on, let's do it together. Yeah. He doesn't do this. I think he's smart in not doing it overall because, he's done very well without doing it. But he doesn't feel it's really worthwhile. He wants the product to speak for itself or whatever he does speak for itself. But he views it as, does it matter? And I'm doing this with you today because I wanted to have people understand him. And I think it's very important. I disagree with him, but I think it's very important that they do understand him. He doesn't need this. He doesn't need it. Now, I happen to think it's made him very popular. I think he's more popular now because there are so many people. You're talking about the radical left. They have the lowest ratings. MSNBC is dying. CNN is dying. They're all dying. The New York Times is doing lousy. The Washington Post is doing horribly. They're all doing badly because people don't buy it anymore. But I think it was important that he do this one interview. You've been a very fair guy. I think you were the right guy to do it. If we could get some radical left guy, and he'd do just as well, frankly, because it's all about common sense.
They would attack him as being unconstitutional.
Sean, to me, this was
fascist.
It was important for people to understand. He's doing a big job. He's doing a very thankless job. It's really a thankless job. But he's helping us to save our country. Our country was in serious trouble. And I had to get the best guy, somebody with credibility, because if he were just a regular, very good, solid businessman, he wouldn't have the credibility. He's got the best credibility for this. And people also know he's an honest guy. He's an honest guy. He's just a very, very smart guy who's done amazing things. And this will be the biggest thing he's ever done. Because, his companies are all great. But if this country goes bad, I guess where he is a little selfish is this. He knows one thing and probably doesn't think. But if this country goes bad, his stuff is not going to be worth very much, I can tell you.
Like I say, if the ship of America sinks, we're all going down with it. This idea that people can escape to New Zealand or some other place is false. If the central pillar of Western civilization, that is America, falls, the whole roof comes crashing down and there is no escape.
Do you anticipate you'll be here 4 years? My last question.
I'll be as helpful as long as I can be helpful.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I was thinking about that just now. And I wonder how long he's going to be doing it. You can't get somebody like this. He cares, and he's brilliant. And he's got energy. You need energy also, in addition to those other things. I have a lot of guys that are very smart, but they have no energy. They want to sleep all day long. You need a lot of energy. He's got a lot of energy. He's doing a great job. If there's any conflict, he will stop it. But if he didn't, I'd stop it. I'd see if there's a conflict. We're talking about big stuff. But he's under a pretty big microscope. Everybody's watching him. If there's a conflict, you're going to be reading about it within about 2 minutes after the conflict.
Exactly. There's the possibility of me getting away with something is 0%, 0.0. Yeah. I've scrutinized to a ridiculous degree. And the other thing is that what's better than saying trust me is just full transparency. So what we're doing with the Doge, just go to doge.gov. You can see every single action that's been taken. And now, and I want to be clear, we are going to make some mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. Nobody bats 1,000, but we're going to fix the mistakes very quickly. That's what matters. Not that you don't make mistakes, but that you fix the mistakes very fast.
أعتقد أن المبلغ منخفض جدا، كنت أتوقع مبلغ أكبر، لذا قدمت له خصما كبيرا. ماسك حصل على خصم كبير، لا أظن أنه على علم بذلك.